Have you ever finally built up the courage to tell someone you like them, only for them to reject you over something you didn't even realise they had a problem with? Because I have, and apparently I wasn't masculine enough for him. This one actually hurt, because this wasn't some random guy I had spoken to on Grindr for 20 minutes. I'd known this guy for months. We've been talking, we'd been laughing together, and I genuinely thought there was something there. But clearly, there wasn't. So let me take you guys back.
Welcome to Gay Talk. Yes!
At the time, I was working as a supervisor at a coach company, and there was this driver that used to come up quite regularly and have his breaks in the depot. This guy was so hot. He was tall, he was really slim, quite young looking, but still had this really mature masculine look about him. As I've mentioned before, I seem to have this thing with guys with big Adam's apples. I just find it hot, and if they've got a deep voice, it's even hotter. So don't ask me why I have this sort of fetish, but it's just something I have. This guy had such a big Adam's apple. So immediately I am like, yep, absolutely lovely. And then I noticed he was wearing cargo trousers, right? This guy was always wearing cargo trousers with all these pockets on them. And for some reason, that made him even hotter to me. He just had this really masculine look about him. And for some reason, the cargo shorts made him look a bit more masculine in my opinion. So tall, slim, cargos, and all of his tattoos. And there's me sitting in the office trying to do my job while in my head I'm imagining this man just picking me up because he's that tall. So, very professional behaviour from the supervisor. Anyway, whenever he came up to the depot for his break, we had this couch in the driver's room, right? So he just sat there and was shy at first, right? He'd come in, he'd lie on the couch, he'd go on his phone, and mostly keep himself to himself. But obviously, I fancied the heck out of him, so every time he came up, I'd talk to him. I'd ask him how his journey had been up to my city, and when he was heading back down the road. How the drive had been, just having that normal work conversation with this guy. And slowly, I started to pull him out of his shell. I'm quite good at that, right? So I pulled him out of his shell. Eventually, instead of laying on the couch on his phone, he'd come and sit in the office with me. We'd talk, we'd make each other laugh, we'd make each other smile, and over the space of a couple of months, I genuinely felt like we were getting closer with each other. Now, whether this was actually happening or whether this was just happening entirely in my delusional little head, I'll let you guys decide. But at the time, I thought I genuinely had a chance, right? And then one day he came up to the depot wearing these different cargo trousers, right? They were almost like tracksuit cargos, if you know what I'm talking about. And he just looked absolutely ridiculously hot, out of this world attractive. I just remember looking at him thinking, I need to tell this guy, because life is too short. If I don't tell this guy I like him, how is he ever going to know, right? What's the worst that could happen? He says no? Now, that's people's famous last words, I guess, right? So after he left, I decided I was going to try and find him on social media. I knew his first name, but I didn't know his second name. So I started searching Facebook, being like a little Facebook stalker trying to find his crush. But I couldn't find him anywhere. My little stalking operation had failed before it even started. But then he came back up to my depot the next day, and somehow I built up the courage to ask him, are you on Snapchat? And to be honest, he gave me a Snapchat username like that. I genuinely didn't expect him to give it to me, so the minute he did, my brain just went, oh god, I am in. I added him, and then I discovered his public Snapchat story, right? Now, I clicked on it. Oh my god, he was standing there in a mirror in his bedroom in his boxer shorts. There was another one of him standing in front of his bed wearing grey shorts and a grey jumper, a proper chavvy look. And there was pictures where you could see his tattoos near his legs, right? And I'm just sitting there looking through these pictures thinking, I have hit the fucking jackpot, right? Because in my head, him giving me a Snapchat meant I had a chance. It didn't, but we're not at that bit yet. So we started talking on Snapchat, and eventually I asked him, what's your type in guys? That's very subtle of me, but hey ho, we only live once, right? So he started telling me. He said he liked guys who were very mature. He wasn't really interested in constantly hooking up with guys. he wanted to eventually settle down. Although he wasn't completely against the idea of having the occasional hookup, it wasn't something he wanted to do all the time. So he told me he was a top and preferred bottoms, right? He liked curly hair, he liked piercings. And I'm sitting there mentally going through this checklist like, yep, I can work with this, but I didn't have curly hair at the time. But apart from that, pretty much thought I was doing quite well, right? There was this one thing that he hadn't mentioned. Masculinity. Now, I know I could be quite feminine at times, but he'd never said anything about that being a problem, right? So I started flirting a little bit more. I'd tell him, "You're very handsome, by the way." And I'd get the little, "Oh, thank you very much," with that like heart face with the eyes popping out. Which obviously in my brain interpreted as, "We're basically getting married, aren't we? Put that ring on my finger, sweetheart." And eventually, I just said it. I messaged him, "I'm not trying to be weird here, but I kind of like you." And his response, "Never going to happen. Not sorry, I don't feel the same. Not sorry, you're a nice guy, I only see you as a friend. No, never going to happen." Fucking hell. So obviously, because I enjoy emotionally torture myself, I just had to ask him, why? And I'm sure I said something along the lines of, "Am I ugly or something?" Because I've been getting rejected by pretty much all the guys I've told I have a crush on. And when it keeps happening, eventually you start wondering and you need an answer. So I say to him, "Is there actually something wrong with me?" And he said, "No, you're just way too feminine for me." And that hurt a lot because suddenly I started looking at my past, everything about myself, the way I spoke, the way I walked, my voice, my mannerisms, everything. And he actually explained it. He said it was the way I sometimes talked, my flamboyancy, my higher pitched voice, the way I walked, my general demeanour. He just didn't find that attractive in a guy. And at the time, I remember being really confused because he told me he was bisexual. So in my head, I'm thinking, you've been with women before, you're attracted to femininity in a woman, but femininity in a man is an instant no. I didn't quite understand that point. I couldn't get my head around it. And then I admitted something to him. I basically said, sometimes I act more feminine because I thought that's what attracted tops to us bottoms. And he was basically like, "No, that's not what attracts me." And that was probably the biggest thing I took away from this whole situation because I had spent all this time thinking I have to be a certain way to attract certain types of guys. I thought, he's masculine, he's a top, so maybe I need to be more feminine. And actually, I'd potentially been doing the exact opposite of what this particular guy found attractive. But more importantly, I just wasn't being myself. I was trying to become what I thought somebody else wanted. And by that point, it didn't matter anyway. He'd already formed his opinion of me. I couldn't suddenly message him the next day like, "Hello mate, football pint, you know, you want to go to the building site? I'll be a tradie for you for a day, I'll put a nice uniform on." No, the damage was already done. And I was genuinely gutted because remember, this wasn't somebody I just matched with. I'd spent months getting to know him. Every time his bus came into the depot, I'd look forward to seeing him. We'd gone from him lying silently on the couch to sitting in the office with me, talking and laughing. I'd convinced myself there was something building between us. And the second I finally shot my shot, never gonna happen. That rejection really stung. And the worst part, I knew he was coming back to my depot the next day. I was absolutely dreading seeing him. I genuinely didn't want to be in the office when he arrived. I felt embarrassed. I felt ashamed. I felt ugly. I was thinking, how am I supposed to look at this man in the face after literally telling him last night that I fancy him? He arrived, and for ages, he stayed on his bus. That part got me thinking, oh God, have I made this weird? Is he avoiding me? I've completely screwed up this friendship. But eventually, he came into the office, and do you know what happened? Nothing. He just started talking to me completely normal, as if the conversation from the night before had never happened. He didn't make fun of me, He didn't embarrass me. He didn't try to treat me differently. He'd rejected me, but he hadn't rejected me as a person. And we eventually stayed friends after that. I kept him on Snapchat. We still spoke, and eventually I got over the embarrassment. But looking back, I think that's probably what I learned from the whole thing. The painful bit wasn't actually that I wasn't masculine enough. I just wasn't this guy's type. And there's a difference between the two, right? Because for a while afterwards, I thought, maybe I need to change how I talk. Maybe I need to change how I walk. Maybe I need to make my voice a bit deeper. Maybe I need to act more masculine. But then, what happens when you actually get somebody? Are you going to keep that performance going for the rest of your relationship? Because I certainly don't think I could. And I'd also realised I'd been doing the complete opposite. I'd sometimes been deliberately making myself appear more feminine because I thought that's what masculine guys wanted. So either way, I was performing regardless. And maybe the better option would have been to have just acted like myself from the beginning. He fancied masculine guys, I wasn't what he was looking for, fair enough. It still hurt though. I suppose there is one positive to this story. I actually told him. I could have spent another 6 months sitting in the office chair, staring at his Adam's apple, waiting for him to magically read my mind, but instead, I took the risk. I got rejected. It hurt really badly, but I survived it, right? And at least I knew. So, I'm curious. Have you guys ever been rejected because you were supposedly too masculine, or too feminine, or too camp, too quiet, too loud? Whatever the reason. Tell me if you've ever been rejected, guys. Did it make you question yourself afterwards? Let me know in the comment section below this video. If you have enjoyed this video, please don't forget to subscribe as it shows me you guys love this content. And be sure to like the video as well as it boosts the video in the algorithm. I love you guys so much. Plenty more stories to come. See you in the next one.